Chronic pain is often caused by suppressed emotions, psychological hindrances, something that has happened in your past. Um, there can be physical causes, but a lot of times there's some type of psychological component to chronic long term pain. In this session today, the demonstration I'm going to give is that example. The client is suffering from chronic pain throughout the body. So, in this video, we're going to do a real session on a real client using the Global Energy Method software. We're going to walk through it and look and see what is causing this client's pain, and we're going to correct that for our client throughout the body. All right, so I'm just going to put the focus in there, what we want to focus on for this particular client, and then we'll get started. So what we're doing is we're using applied kinesiology to test through this software. So we're using muscle testing. That's what applied kinesiology is. You can see that on the left, we are going to be creating the report for the client as we go through the session. We have the date that the session is being conducted, the name of the client, which I have protected. I just gave them a number, and then the age of this particular client, as well as now we have the focus. So what we can do at this point is test these. What is causing the biggest impact to this pain, or what can we work on that will give the most relief? I think that's the way I'm going to address this today, is which one of these, a physical imbalance, psychological, spiritual, or just a basic core imbalance, which one will give this client the most impactful release today? Let me go ahead and test these options. Okay, I'm getting a psychological. I think there is something physical. I felt a pull there, but it tested as psychological. So we're going to start with the psychological piece to it. I'm testing the contributor, the related to or caused by. So we're going to start with a cause by. So these are the basic cause bys. You'll see that as we do sessions, if you watch any of the other session demonstrations, and as we go through this, these screens change based on what we've chosen already. So every single session is customized for that specific client. So let me test here. Okay, there's a psychological need energy. I'm going to go ahead and put the explanation on the report. So there's stress reduction techniques. Okay, I'm not surprised by that because stress can cause stronger symptoms. I'm going to go ahead and skip this. So this is a custom identified. I do want to identify some stress reduction techniques, but I'd like to do it in the correction phase because I do want to make some minor corrections as well. Up here, this little eye, this gives me my instructions for the screen. And you'll see here that it even gives me some recommendations that I can copy and paste. So like maybe I'll go ahead and copy these recommendations here. And then down here, if I wasn't sure what to do, I could have clicked on here to get the, just search custom identified. And it would pull up videos of what to do. So I'll show you that, but we're not going to actually watch it. The next section. So there is training right in that software that's going to let me know what to do if I don't know what to do. Let me cross that off. And I'm going to go past this because I want to use this custom correction. So let me first figure out what specific stress reduction techniques are needed. But before I do that, I want to see how long has this stress been impacting. I'm just muscle testing ages. So I asked this client is 48. So I asked, um, has it been present more than 10 years? Yes. Has it been present more than 20? No. So 10, 11, 12, 13 years. It's been present. This whatever we're finding right now has been present within the body for 13 years, causing pain. Now, they may not have felt pain 13 years ago because it was brand new, it was fresh then, but probably for at least the last 10 years or so, they've been feeling pain with it progressively getting worse and probably spreading to more areas. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this. Um, I'm going to recommend practicing one of these or any other stress reliever activity for 30 minutes per day, every day. Okay, so that's what I want to recommend for this client. And again, I got that up in that eye when we clicked on stress reduction techniques. When we found that in the custom identified, these were already in there. So, but I also want to add another, so that's a recommendation, but I also want to add some other corrections. I want to reduce the current stress energy in the body. I like to just feel and see what the client needs. I feel a nervous system thing going on here. I'm going to increase stress resilience. And I think this is all I can do at this point. I can feel that there is a nervous system thing going on for this client. So I'm going to just bold these. I bold these because it stands out in the report. You'll see that in just a second. And when those are bolded, the brain will emphasize those words when reading the report. And so that will trigger the placebo response for our client. And we want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and do this work. I use when I do sessions, I use God as my source. Basically, it is just like intercessory prayer. I stand in for my client. So the client books with me, they give me permission to stand in the gap for them. And then I start every session with prayer, asking God if it is His will to make a shift for this client. If I get a yes, then I go through and I identify things that need corrections so that I know the specifics of what to pray for or what to ask God to shift. So right now I'm going to do that to reduce the current stress in the body. Let me do that now. I'm just using muscle testing. I'm using a type of prayer. We do teach this within the global energy method, but I'm using a type of prayer to ask God to do this work. There are other healers that will do it with their own intention or different power source, but personally, as a Christian, I believe that God does all of this work, and so that is what I choose to use. So let me just do that real quick. I'll just be silent for a second. And then I use muscle testing to confirm that it is finished. I confirm it's God's will and then that it is finished. She's a little reluctant, actually, which is interesting. Let me ask if there's a reason. Okay, there's a reason for this reluctance. Okay, she has self-sabotaging behaviors and she feels she deserves this pain. Okay, so I'm going to add another correction here. And I'm going to say released self-sabotaging behavior. Whoop. I need a period. And okay. So clearly something's happened in her life where she believes that she deserves this. So I'm going to go ahead and take just a second to do these 4 items. Okay, she's much more willing to accept it now that we've addressed the self-sabotaging behaviors and we released the belief. So she was very willing to accept the reduced stress in the body and increased resilience. Okay, so we've made this change for the client. Now, this is sort of like a surface level change. It's going to give immediate relief, which is what she needs right now. But we want to go further. We want to address the core of what this is. By just addressing that piece that's causing the pain, or this piece of what is causing the pain, um, we're not addressing the thing that caused it. Okay. So something else is happening. Something, whatever is causing this particular thing, whatever is causing her to need this stress reduction, whatever is causing her to build up this stress, we haven't addressed yet. Just releasing the stress or releasing the self-sabotaging behaviors, all of that, it's not good enough. It gives immediate relief, and that's why her subconscious went to it first, and that's why we've addressed it, right away, because she needs that relief right now. However, we don't want it to revert. We don't want the pain to come back. And so what we're going to do is we are going to continue working, and let me see what area do we need to change the focus, the contributor, etc. All right, we want to change the session direction. And let me see what physical. Okay. So in the physical, okay, we're going to work in the nervous system. Okay, that's exactly what I would expect. Okay, I think she's probably going to need multiple sessions to actually really permanently and significantly address this pain. But for now, we're getting the peripheral nervous system. Actually, I forgot to put the the explanation on the report. So we're going to go ahead and just go back by clicking this little box. Do you want to add an explanation to the report? Just by clicking that, it adds it to the report. So autonomic, somatic. Okay, we need to address the somatic nervous system. Okay, the efferent motor neurons are not working properly. And so now what we're doing, like if I were to click up here, you'd see we use muscle testing to identify the most impactful imbalance. Is it on the left or the right? So I'm just testing that. Okay, the vagal nerve or vagus nerve. I'm not surprised by that at all because it does affect so much of the body. So this nerve is imbalanced, and that nerve is causing pain. And that nerve specifically runs from the head all the way through to the digestive system. And so that is probably why this person has been having reoccurring bouts of pain because that nerve is imbalanced. Okay, so let me check this. Okay, she is having sleep imbalances, and these sleep imbalances are limiting her ability to recoup. It's going to hinder her stress level. It's going to mean she's got more stress because when we sleep, we process that day. We will consolidate memories. We will there's just a lot that happens when we sleep. So because she's having a sleep imbalance, that is going to affect everything. She's going to have stay stressed. She's not going to consolidate that day. She's not going to recover from that stress. The next day is going to compound. So that is why her stress is so high. Not only that, but there's a lot of healing that goes on in our sleep. And so it's going to end up affecting the entire body, all 13 systems of the body. And so that is why this is probably causing pain. So let's see what specifically. She's again a little protective here. So let me try to find out. This client is a newish client. And so I think that's probably why we keep getting a little bit of pushback. Okay, I'm gonna pause for a second, just reconnect, make sure that it's God's will for us to do this. Okay, it definitely is. So let me get okay. So there's what I feel when I do start this intercessory prayer, I do like to ask God to allow me to feel what the client is feeling, because it does help with that intuitive process of really understanding what's happening. And what I feel is fear, a lot of fear, actually. So there's sleep inconsistencies. And I'm feeling a lot of fear within this. So, again, I could identify, actually, no, I don't need to use this again because I'm going to be doing corrections. And so that's an optional screen. We're not going to use that. But what we're going to do here is go ahead and work on that sleep inconsistency. The first thing is there is just a lot of fear that I'm feeling here. And I'm going to address that right here because normally we get emotional releases in a different area in the cause by, but I feel it so strong at this point that I don't know that we're going to effectively restore the sleep if I don't address this fear. And it feels like a fear of failure. Wait, how long is this? Has been. Let me see if this has also been 13 years. Present for about 11 years. Okay. So this is a little bit less than the other. So as you see, things evolve. The longer the body is imbalanced, the longer it will be affected and the more things that will happen. So, but this particular sleep inconsistency has been present for 11 years. So I'm going to let her know when identifying the sleep inconsistency, I felt significant amounts of fear. I'd like to get more information. Let me make sure it's God's will for me to find it. Okay, yes. Okay, so more information will be helpful for this client. So I could go up here and it gives me questions to ask, like how long has it been present? What is it affecting? How does the imbalance or who does the imbalance involve, etc. But I'm going to go ahead and use, like I said, I asked God to let me feel what the client is feeling, and then I can muscle test questions. So the fear is just immense. So, and it feels like a fear of failure, but it feels mixed with something else. Oh, let's see. Okay, it's mixed with a traumatic experience. So this fear feels like the fear of failure. I was just checking. Mixed with a traumatic event. Involving It involves a family member. That's what I was just testing, muscle testing, involving a family member and potential loss. It kind of feels like loss or near loss. Something like that. Something in the something some type of trauma involving a family member that they either lost or nearly lost. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to first put that identified the internal energy of fear and release, or actually, I want to say identified and released the internal energy of fear and replace it with courage. Okay. I always want to write this in the past tense because it again triggers something within the brain that helps to activate the placebo response. So, personally, I'm using God as source, and God will be making these corrections. A lot of times, the Bible says, we receive not because we ask not. And so, when we ask very, very specific prayers, then we are able to get very, very specific results. If God's will or God's intention is for us to heal from something, but sometimes we don't get that, it may be because we didn't ask those specifics. And so that is what we can do with this is we can get to the information so that we can make those specific prayers. Um, so yeah, we're going to identify and release the internal energy of fear. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, that was accepted well. I'm going to replace it with courage, which as I expected has a little pushback. Okay, so that is now replaced with courage. So basically, what's happening there is inside the brain, there's neural connections that when we receive certain stimuli, it reacts, it uses past information and sends out a physiological response to the body, a physiological message, if you will. And that message that has been sending out is fear. So we want to replace that with courage. So when that trigger happens the next time, instead of it triggering fear, it triggers courage. And so that is the purpose of replacing what we're releasing. If we don't replace it, then the next time that there is a trigger, then it's the neural connection is firing to nothing, and so it will then recreate the fear or recreate some type of emotional energy, which is a physiological response in the body. And it could actually even hinder the client more if we don't have it firing to something. So that is why we will be replacing it. All right, so we've addressed the fear. Now, can we address the sleep inconsistency? Yes. Okay. Let's see. I am going to do a few things for this client. Let me back this up. This is let me put the, it's not adding the bullet points. There we go. Okay. So we're not going to work on the stages of sleep quite yet. I want to balance the sleep level to avoid unnecessary waking. She's very willing to accept that. Balance the audio stimuli, very willing. And empower ability to return to sleep if woken at night. Okay. All right, we're able to do that. Now with the stages of sleep, I do like to always do that anytime I am addressing sleep at all, because even pretty much everybody can have imbalanced stages of sleep. It's very common just because of the world we live in now. There's so much that goes on, that the stages of sleep, and we have lights on in our house. So I'm going to go ahead and balance these. So I'm going to balance stage 1, the non-REM. I'm going to optimize the stage to 1 to 7 minutes. Balance stage 2, non-REM, stage 2. Yeah, there was an imbalance there. Okay. We balance it non-REM stage 2. That's where she was waking. Optimize the stage for 10 to, okay, yep. She was waking within that time period and then maybe having trouble going back to sleep. Balance stage 3, okay. And optimize that to 20 to 40 minutes. And balance stage 4, optimize to 10 to 60 minutes. Okay, perfect. And then I do have some notes here that there are large spreads of minutes because optimal time for each stage with each cycle is 4 to 6 optimal cycles per night. But so what that means is, like, your first cycle is, off the top of my head, I can't remember if it's shorter. I think the first cycle is longer, and then it goes shorter and shorter until the last cycle right before you wake up. And so that's why there is a spread of time, like 10 to 60 minutes is a significant spread. But one, I can't remember if it's the first one is the shorter time and the last one is the longer, or the last one or the first one is the longer time. I believe the first one is the longer time and the last one is the shorter time. But either way, that's what happens. And so we've now balanced those stages, and we have balanced the ability to avoid unnecessary waking and the audio stimuli and returning to sleep. So that's going to help her get sleep. And then I do give recommendations. These are important for anyone listening to this video. You will get better sleep by making at least one of these changes, preferably both, but usually people can only do one. Sit outside when the sun is coming up in the morning or when the sun is going down. So either sunrise or sunset. sit outside and allow the light to hit your face. Do not look at the sun, but allow the light to hit your face, and you will start to get much more restful sleep, even if you can only do one of those things. But if you can do both, be outside during sunrise and sunset, you're going to find that your sleep is, you start really recovering. You wake up every morning feeling so refreshed, and you will have more energy throughout the day, less pain, and your organs will work better, your digestion will improve. It would make a huge difference for anyone here. Okay, so this client, let me see what we've done. We have done quite a bit of balancing with her sleep, and we've done these corrections here. So at this point, I think I'm going to be done with this session. We probably, if it was normally, I'd probably go a little longer, but for this client, and doing this video, it's time for us to end the session. This client does like to end a little bit before she really needs to, just to kind of avoid processing symptoms. Another way that I support her with processing symptoms is we add in positive energy, or positive things, so that she can better, she'll get the most benefit from the session without having processing symptoms. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to muscle test and ask God which one of these affirmations I should have her saying over the next 3 to 5 days. So we have nothing on sleep. Let's see if we have stress. Okay. So should I have, yeah. Okay. All right. These are perfect. And this client, normally, there's, so the way I do sessions personally, a lot of GEM practitioners, global energy method practitioners, do it a different way. But the way I do it is, for a simple report, I usually don't add these explanations, and then they get 3 affirmations. This particular report was supposed to be a simple, but I did pass that by her, that I would probably add the explanations so that you all can see them. We use these explanations, and the way the global energy method is designed is we have NLP built right into the explanations. NLP is neuro linguistic programming. What that is we're using specific wording that can be perceived as stimuli in the client's brain when they read the report, that will be used to trigger a healing response. God has created us to be healing beings. So we just need to address the right stimuli. When we see stimuli that is, it looks threatening, whether we're watching a Netflix video where there's a lot of action, or we have stress at work, or whatever is going on in our life, when there is something that seems to be a threat, we gather that stimuli, we process it through our brains, and then our body reacts to it. It will slow down digestion, it will raise the heart rate, it will do whatever it needs to do so that the body can face the threat that is there. But the problem is, we face this all the time. We face it every single day. We face it all day long. And so we oftentimes have this very heightened fight or flight response. So we use neurolinguistic programming in our explanations, and we do certain things that is trained in the global energy method certification, so that you as a practitioner are able to initiate a healing process. The body is not doing anything wrong. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's doing what it's made to do. It's doing what's natural. God created it to do that, to keep you safe. But we also have this amazing innate ability to heal. And so what we do as global energy method practitioners, and truthfully many energy healers, is we use those natural healing methods to start a healing process in the body. That doesn't mean you will ever stop seeing a doctor or anything like that. We always will recommend to see a doctor for anything that needs a diagnosis. Energy healers do not diagnose or treat disease, but we are able to help people with complementary alternative type methods to better your health, whether it be emotional, psychological, or physical. So let's go ahead and put a note here, and I'm going to ask her to please repeat these once per day for 3 to 5 days. Great. All right, so we'll continue to the report. That's going to be added to the report. And you see that the report is building as I go through the session. It's building for me. So at the end, I'll have a completed professional report that I can send to my client, and I don't have to sit there and wait for it. Not only that, but the Global Energy Method software holds the client data in a HIPAA compliant server. So my data is protected. I don't have to worry about spending $200, $300, $400 a month trying to keep my own laptop secure. I can have that in the Global Energy Method software. That's keeping my data secure. All right. So now we're going to add some reinforcements. And it's just like the affirmations, but these actually need work. Well, we do want to actually add those affirmations as well. So let me look at the stress. So yes, resilience. We kind of already did that, but let's use these 3 for this client. Okay, so for this particular client, she didn't purchase encouragements and awakenings. So now I am going to do this work. I'm going to go ahead and install these. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask God to add these to the subconscious mind. Okay, and I am going to now do these. I'm going to increase these. So this is already present. So like she already is releasing some stress each night, but I want to increase what she can release. So let me do those. All right. So we have that done. And now for the processing time, 1, 2, 3, 4 days. We need 4 days of processing before she can have another session. And then at this point, we would write the summary. So let me go ahead and do that. I'll say today I was able to find that stress was a major component to your pain. There was significant stress. Whoops. And for the last 13 years, as well as significant fear from a traumatic experience that seemed to involve the loss or near loss of a family member from 11 years ago. This has caused a sleep imbalance that was hindering your ability to both heal and release stress energy. However, I was able to correct this today using God as the conduit for the release. I recommend we work further on this topic to fully address the endocrine system, or not endocrine, sorry, the nervous system, to ensure long-term relief. Please update me on your pain level in about 5 days. Thank you. Please. Okay, so there we go. Now, all I got to do is save and download the report, and I will have a completed report for my client. Let me stop sharing this, and then I will share the report with you. Just a moment. So we're going to stop sharing here, and we are going to share the report. And there we go. So now we have the report. So at this point, we have a completed report. Again, I have my client hidden because I am using this publicly so that people can see a session demonstration. So, but normally the client's name would be up here, the date of the session, the age of the client. Again, the client data is housed within the Global Energy Method software, so it is HIPAA compliant. I'm sure that I have, my business is protected. That is one of the huge benefits of the Global Energy Method software. And the other one is this report. Amazing that it can build the report as we go through the session. So I've taken a lot of time talking to you today, but usually doing it this way can cut out time in the session, but then you also don't have to create a report. And so that's what's so wonderful about the Global Energy Method software. So you can see as we go through, it's got it all formatted. It's got all our corrections in here. The client can now review her report, review all the NLP influenced explanations for each thing, how it's going to help her, and all of that. And so now all I would have to do is send my client this report, and that's it. Not only that, but if let's say I wanted this in a different language, I could just drop this in Google Translate. You can put the PDF right in there, and in about 2 to 3 seconds, you have a fully translated report, and it keeps all of the formatting for us. So that is another session demonstration for the Global Energy Method software. If you have questions about a session or about this session or the Global Energy Method certification or the Global Energy Method software, please reach out to questions@globalenergymethod.com.